Ladies and Habibis, we are going to introduction to you rising star of South Asia. He is very well educated. He knows Islam and Christianity very well. He done what they said he can't. He is Doctor.
Alhamdulillah.
Wait a minute, what are you doing, Zakir? You come out, it's not you. Habibi, take him out. Sorry, there was some problem. He's Adam Sikar.
Hello everyone. This is your favorite Murtid. Salamul Masih. Peace of Christ be with each and every one of you. I hope you guys are having fun. And hello everyone. Your favorite Murtad Adam Seeker is live once again with all of you. I know this is not my usual time to go live, but we have a special guest. Today's live stream is very special because we have special guest after such a long time. Lloyd Dijon is with us, and welcome, Mr. Lloyd. How are you, sir?
Salami and bacon, my brothers. I am very well, thank you. All ham to Allah.
Salami and bacon to you, my friend, as well. I hope you had a lot of good time in your home and with your friends and everything today. Today's Sunday, almost going to close.
It was very good. Thank you very much, and great to be back on again, Adam.
Thank you so very much. We missed you a lot. You have done beautiful streams about Sharia in the past, and I've missed you so much. But somehow our schedule seems to be not working in alignment somehow.
It's tough, I know. Different continents, right?
Absolutely. I'm still on Mars, so it's a different planet, so can't complain. Anyways, so with that being said, Brother Lloyd, we had a couple of discussions in the backstage, and apparently the West is going down the drain, and it is going down the drain real fast, especially the England, like the England part and the UK part. So, and a lot of people are saying it's because of wokeism.
Right.
And some people say it is because of Christians, and I say actually it's not Christians. Christians are fighting against them right now. There is a
Christians
time when
know what a man is and what a woman is. The woke atheists don't.
yes, thank you so very much. But then again, we have some Muslims who jumps in as well. They get they find the space between the lines. Okay, now this is happening, so why not figure out in the middle ground and figure something out? So what is this like the destruction of the West and wokeism and woke atheism? Like, what is all this? Because, like, for me, it's a very foreign concept living in Pakistan. But you have done a lot of work and a lot of research on that. How would you describe it to us in short before you go into your presentation?
It's based around Marxism. So if you look at, say, communist China, that is Marxism with Chinese characteristics, and woke is Marxism with California characteristics.
Marxism with California characterism? I have no idea what you said. I
No,
know
it's basically
China.
Marxism, but as interpreted through the lens of people from Los Angeles, all those crazy, weird leftists from that part of the world. They
The
simply,
Bollywood part of the world.
Mm,
Yeah. Hollywood, not the Bollywood. Bollywood
yes,
is India. The Hollywood part of the world. Yep. Yeah, I've seen in the past 4 years, there was a time when you used to watch an advertisement of makeup, and you would be like, you'll feel okay, you saw something beautiful, when you see the advertisement. Nowadays, when you watch an advertisement of a makeup, you get disgusted because I'm the most straight person in the history of straight persons, by the way. So things, there's a joke going around in Pakistan at this moment right now. It's a very famous joke in WhatsApp. So probably you might be able to get it. I'm going to try to say it in English. It's a Urdu Punjabi joke. So probably you might not get it because when the joke loses its
Yeah.
jokiness in translation. But
Yep.
I'm going to still try to do it. So a Pakistani went to Thailand, and he went to Thailand, and when he came back, he said, "I will never going to go back to Thailand." And the friend asked him like, "Why? What happened? What happened? Why?" He said, "I went in with a lady and ran out shouting, 'It's a man! It's a man! It's a man!' Man, it destroyed. Like, unless you say it in the real language, you will not. Okay, forget the
Right,
joke.
right.
It
Yeah,
wasn't
I
a joke.
know.
I ruined it. I ruined it. I'm sorry.
It's like having to explain it. I know. Back home, we speak Afrikaans, and if you there are jokes in Afrikaans that you cannot translate into English because then it's like you have to explain the joke, and then it doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, I just destroyed it. I ruined it. Sorry. All right, guys. Sorry about this. I am a bad joker, so I'm sorry about that. But the good joker is Zishan, so you can actually go and have some jokes from him because we can't do jokes here. So anyhow, so brother Lloyd, this atheism, which started in Britain and expanding pretty dramatically in the West at this moment, and this woke liberals, who thinks they are liberals, but actually they are not liberals, because in liberalism you have to be very very equal about each and every person, each and every theology, each and every thing, and you have to look at it from the theological and textual references. That will be liberalism. But apparently it is not liberalism. What is happening in the West is more like every single wokist atheist is joining hands with Islam somehow. And yes, there are
Yeah.
certain percentage which do not join hands with Islam as well, but Islam is using them. So what is happening? What, like, I can't even perceive. I've said it many times in my videos that I am okay with an agnostic. I'm not okay with an atheist, because atheist is usually Islam without Allah and Muhammad. So this is my statement, that atheist is usually Islam without Allah and Muhammad. So they want their superiority, they want everyone to follow what they follow and not have any freedom of speech, freedom of religion, or anything like that. So, what would you say about this? Can you define atheism in terms of some
Let's
dictionary and all that?
let's tell you what. Let's go to my slides, which are up. Let's
Sure.
start from there. So I will draw a number of I'll put a number of pieces on the table or a number of threads, and then we'll tie them together into a bow. So let's start and then we'll bring everything together as one, and people will get a different perspective of atheism because we're going to start looking at atheism historically. Now, generally speaking, because of the limited time, I had to take something like 400 or 500 slides and choose only 60. So there are things I had to leave out, and there are things that I can only touch on briefly. But hopefully, this will give people reason to dig deeper, to do some research, or go look at my channel and at the different episodes I've done in depth. But let's start with the invention of, well, sorry, the definition of the word atheism. Let's look at a typical atheist strategy. Right? A theist, right? What is a theist? Theist is someone who believes in a deity, right? We are theists, we believe in God. An atheist, now the word a is a negation. It means not, right? Now you can say without, but the sense is actually not. So atheos, without God, or as atheists deem it, it's not God. It's a denial of God. So atheos, without God, or not God, against God, godless, right? Now, so the definition of atheism, atheists try to claim it's just a lack of belief, like they don't believe in unicorns, right? Or it's something you've never thought about, right? Like something you've like pink flying unicorns with yellow stripes. For up until now, you've lacked a belief in it, but now that I've described pink flying unicorns with yellow stripes, do you believe in those unicorns? Do you lack a belief in them, Adam?
Yes, absolutely. I lack the belief in unicorn.
Well, think about it. You lacked a belief before I told you because you didn't think about it. But now that I've told you about it, you have to decide whether you'll believe in it or not. So, do you choose to believe in it, or do you choose that it's false and you reject it?
I will now reject it because you described what it is, and now I reject it.
So once I've told you this thing, once the information's been given to you, you can no longer lack a belief. You have to make a decision. You have to make a choice to accept or reject. So the atheists, they don't lack a belief in God. And we'll talk about this a little bit more as we go through, just given some brief time. But they then, after they presented evidence for God, they have to make a choice whether they accept or reject, and they reject it. So atheism is not just a casual lack of belief. Babies lack belief because they lack the intellect to believe various things. They lack the knowledge. They're ignorant because they are young and have no experience of the world, so they lack beliefs. Babies are lacking beliefs. Adults don't lack beliefs. Adults make informed choices. So the definition of atheism as a lack of belief requiring no evidence is just deceptive rhetoric. It's a word game. It's a ploy, right? Now, denying atheism's status as a doctrinal position, because atheists deny that they are holding a position because they don't want to prove their position, right? So they claim, no, it's just a lack of belief. It's not a doctrinal position. It's not an intellectual position, right? So they do this because they want to avoid demonstrating proof for their position. So it's a clever way of circumventing proof, right? So that's sophistry. Now, interesting is that a lack of belief does not constitute a knowledge claim or a scientific position. And atheists are great at claiming that they have superior knowledge, that they are following science, their views are based on science, but an absence of something, an empty gap, a whole gaping hole of ignorance is not a scientific position. So this is a contradiction in the claims that atheists make that they are relying on pure scientific rationality. I lack a belief, right? Because then you'd also have to explain, how did you arrive at that belief? Well, you made choices and you chose based on an analysis that you did. So it's not just a lack of belief, it's actually a position you arrived at on the basis of whatever thinking you went through, and then you've got to demonstrate that, and they want to avoid that. Can you see the little word game that's starting here? How this is logically incoherent?
Absolutely, absolutely. This is mind-boggling to begin with, and quite frankly, I didn't never thought of it from this perspective. That the whole it's literally a mind game that these atheists are playing right now, even though the name actually shows something different, which is crazy. Yep.
Yeah, let's continue. So atheism's meaning depends on and requires theism. Because think about it, you cannot lack a belief in something that doesn't exist. Theism had to exist, and therefore atheists took a position against it. So atheism's meaning depends on and requires theism as the target it rejects. It cannot exist as a mere absence for no reason, because you wouldn't need it. It's an opposite position. It's the negation of theism. It's
So
not a mere lack,
this
it's a
is
rejection. Yes?
this is very strange. So what you are telling me is that atheism is not a neutral position then.
No,
So
it never
it's
has
an
been.
anti-theism position.
Correct. It never has been. I've got 80 slides on just that in a different slide deck. No time to do it now, but yes, I went through all of these scientific definitions of atheism from all of the major universities, all the textbooks, all of the PhD atheists who've written books on it. It's a negative position. It is a position that rejects, and we'll have a look at a little bit of it, but this is covered in depth on my channel.
Wow,
Now,
wow. This is like okay, guys, everyone who's listening, now is the time to like and share it because at the end of the day, you are going to get a lot of information in these slide decks for sure. I know every time Lloyd comes in, he gives us so much data that even I have used a lot of his data in a lot of my videos because he just comes in, he throws out a lot of data in front of all of us, which we can use in so many locations. And what is destroying the West right now? We are talking about this. But before we could talk about this, we need to know what it is. If we don't know what we are fighting with, if we don't know the enemy, we will not know how to fight it. So, like and share as much as you can. And my Twitter post is here as well. If you can retweet, that'll be awesome as well. Tweet it to your friends as well. Retweet it. Use your Twitter. So, send it to as many people as you can. Brother Lloyd, sorry for the interruption.
No worries. No, excellent. No, I'm glad you used my material. I'm actually very grateful that you do. So I'm glad you find it of value, man. I'm very honored. Okay, so now if atheism claims to be merely an absence, like an empty hole, a space where there's nothing, it cannot claim to be scientific. How is a gap, a lack, an absence, an emptiness, a hole scientific? It's not. Can't be.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So, and if atheism defines itself against theism, then it cannot be an absence. These are all contradictions in atheism. So, atheism must be an active position that requires justification. Okay, so
Wow.
just a brief slide on this, right? Atheism actively rejects theism. That's the premise. Now, I can show this again on a different slide deck, and at another time we can go through all of the scientific definitions, all of the academic definitions. I collected like 85 or 90 definitions from the scientific community on atheism, from Oxford and Harvard and Princeton and so on. And it's 97%. It's rejection of God. It's an active, rejecting position, right? So atheism actively rejects theism. Premise two, the terms agnostic and the terms non theist already exist to describe positions that do not assert the existence of deities or reject the existence of deities. Why do we need a third term when we've already got agnostic, which is neutral? That's a neutral position. And non theist, that's another neutral position. Why do we need a third term? Atheist. Atheists are just in denial about their position. You see, we've already got other words in the dictionary for this. So if atheism, right, which is not theism, is defined separately from agnosticism or non theism, then it must assert a position against theism because it's saying we are not agnostics, we are not non theists, we are atheists, we're a third position. Understand? So
Oh
there's
my
some,
goodness. So the neutral position is agnostic.
yeah,
That
it's we don't
that
know enough. Yeah.
that makes sense, quite frankly. That
And we'll look at
definitely makes
history,
sense.
and history will back up. Evidence from the last 250 years will back up. Atheists are virulently antagonistic towards the church, towards Christianity. I mean, they are actively hateful and violent. We'll see this in action.
Noise.
So, claiming that atheism is merely a lack of belief misrepresents its active rejection of Christianity, for instance, and avoids the burden of proof. But atheism is not just a lack of belief, it is an assertive position that requires coherent justification against theism. And if atheism is not a doctrinal position, it cannot be considered scientific because it lacks any testable and evidence based claims because it's a lack of belief. It's just an empty hole. How do you test an empty hole? What evidence based claims can an empty hole, a lack of belief, a nothingness make? Nothing. So it's just completely irrelevant. It's nonsense. Right. All right. Any comment or before I move on?
No, no, I'm just listening very carefully now because this is going way faster than I ever thought that it will. So please carry on, sir. Carry on, carry on. This is
Cool, as
awesome.
long as it's all logical. I mean, so, okay, so now let's look at modern atheism. So, this was a watershed moment in modern atheism. Modern atheism, obviously, we can trace atheism back to the ancient Greeks. It's a pagan belief system. So, of course, atheists say, well, we can trace our beliefs to the Greeks. Yes, the Greek pagans, the Roman pagans. And unfortunately, those Romans and Greeks who professed atheism, not exactly the same as atheism today, but also it's pagan. And you'll find that atheism in history, and there's even a fantastic historical treatise on this, it's simply called the rise of the new paganism. So in the 1700s, when you're looking at as socialism starts to rise as an ideology, as well as the French Revolution, atheism is really just a resurgence of paganism under the packaged name of science. But we'll discuss that in brief as we go.
May
So,
I, may I ask a question now? Here,
sure.
this is very important. So you said in the early times in Greek and Romans, atheism started. So did atheism started in Rome against the Roman gods?
Essentially, yeah, against the Greek and Roman pantheon. Essentially, yes, but that's not all it was. So I don't want to go there because I don't have those notes. That's a whole discussion on its own. But yes,
So in short, at that particular time, there were Greek gods, and atheism started as anti-Greek gods. and then in Romans era, there is atheism started as anti-Roman gods. So it's always an anti-godism, no matter what god it is. So it's an anti-godism of that particular time, of that particular era. That is what atheism
Was
is
meant to.
always.
Yeah. Although the term atheism has changed, the definitions have changed. So the definition of hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago may be different. But again, let's not go there now. That's not
All right.
that important for this discussion. So, but modern atheism is about 250, 280 years old.
Oh, so modern
So
atheism is too small. It's just like 250 years. That's it.
roughly speaking, yeah. So we can go back to the middle of the 1700s, roughly. So now, there's a guy called Baron de Holbach, right? He wrote a book called The System of Nature, 1770. So he was a French German intellectual in Paris, and he was the first openly professed atheist in the Western tradition. That's from this historian called Thrower in 2000. Here we've got his book, Le Système de la Nature, right? So now his System of Nature is considered Europe's first explicit work of atheism, and it made certain criticisms of religion. He said religion is unscientific. It contradicts what science teaches. But don't forget, atheism is just a lack of belief, which is apparently a scientific position. So you see, we need to have scientific truths, like you need to have a lack of belief, a complete emptiness, an incapability of believing, a complete ignorance, because that's apparently a scientific truth somehow. Religion maintains a corrupt society. You see, it focuses on the afterlife, distracting from real world issues. You see, focus on the now, focus on what you can get right now. Don't think about eternity, right? Your soul. Atheism says that, well, this guy said that no, religion does not provide morality. It is not a solid foundation for moral values. What you need to do is to have a lack of belief, a complete lack of inability to believe in God, to believe in gods, and that gives you a foundation for moral values somehow. Then knowledge. So then he gives 3 areas of critique. Religion opposes scientific understanding. It has a cognitive issue. That's from his view. This is a heavy summary of his work. Okay, so religion opposes scientific understanding. Never mind that universities were all Middle Ages inventions of Christians, right? The church created universities. The church funded universities. We can go through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of scientists from the beginning of the scientific era that were all Christians, that were all priests, that were all lay ministers, that whatever, right? Politics. He says religion reinforces social corruption, right? It's the practical political issue. And then morality. Religion lacks a solid moral basis, but science will fix that for you.
But
Because remember, trust the science, right? Wear the mask.
but all of these things are untrue. How did he drive to these conclusions? Like when I see these things written over here, they're like
Mhm.
all of them are untrue. Yeah, there is
Yep.
focus on afterlife, but at the same time, there's focus of this life as well. Because if he's standing against Christianity of that time, the Bible teaches us the first command is what? Love the God with all your heart, with all your mind, and all your
Yeah.
soul. But what is the second
And
one?
love
What
your
should I
neighbor as
do after
yourself.
that?
Love your neighbor as yourself.
As you love thyself. And in
Mhm.
Galatians, it is described as the best command that was given, which encapsulates every single command, is in this sentence, which is love your neighbor as you love yourself. So at the end of the day, there is a huge emphasis on how to live this life and how well you need to live this life. And then he's saying that no moral values. How can there be no moral values when there are so many values defined? um, and even if I don't even go to the Sermon of the Mount, which is 3 chapters in Matthew 5, 6, and 7, and if
Mhm.
I just look at this sentence alone, and like I don't understand where he's getting these things. Like, is he mentally retarded or what?
Yes, probably. Villainous says something very interesting. Christians were called atheists by these Romans because they rejected the Greek and Roman gods and accepted only the God of the Bible. And the Christians were called atheists because they wouldn't believe. So even Christians were called atheists. So it's really strange.
Okay, I
Yeah.
don't know
And
if Christians were called atheists. Do you? Okay, if this guy is a knowledgeable guy, but I don't know where he's getting this.
no, apparently
Is it
that's true. To my knowledge, that is true. I mean, to my knowledge, that is so.
really? I
Christians are
had
called
never
atheists.
heard.
There's
I
some.
I had never heard about this information. This is literally news to me as well. All right, so this is how atheism started. That is crazy. Okay.
Yeah. we're going to look most at modern atheism because it's relevant to us, and it's so socialist atheism. Now, atheism and socialism are almost inseparable, right? Communism and atheism go together like a hand and a glove, right? So it's a political religion, and we'll discuss again. I can only touch on things. Depth we can do it another time perhaps, but for now I just want to introduce various things, and you can go and research or look at my channel for more depth, right? So socialism is a socio-political religion. It's a theocracy. It's a simulacrum of Christianity. It's a copy of, but it's a non-religious copy of Christianity. We'll discuss as we go. Secular humanism is an atheist religious doctrine. It's also a simulacrum of Christianity. I've covered both extensively on my channel. So atheism is religious and inherently socialist or communist and theocratic. Now, atheism and humanism are religions as per the US Supreme Court. Atheists went to court. They went all the way to the Supreme Court to be given equal respect as a religion as compared to Christianity. So
Oh
eventually,
no. So they
yes,
fought to be a religion.
religion, yes, in Supreme Court, and they won.
So
They're now officially,
they showed their documents and evidences that we as an atheist are a religion and an
yes,
ism in ourselves, and we have these
yes.
values and these values and these values and these laws and these everything. Man, that is crazy. So now the atheists are saying, oh, we don't have any law, we don't have any book, we do this and we do that. That's all BS.
So what happened is that back in the 80s, they discovered this was a bad move, and they had to try and erase that fact. And then they started marketing. They started a new campaign to change it. No, we're not a religion. No, 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 we're not a religion. We're just science. So that was only late, like 1988. They started with that movement to push that message. But prior to that, they fought tooth and nail in court to be accepted as religion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, this is the channel of our brother Lloyd. It's in the live chat. If you haven't subscribed to it because he has done a lot of these videos on his channel. He's just giving us some snippets of what he has done in a short time. Yes, brother, please continue.
So atheism, thank you. Atheism and secular humanism are historically violent and irrational and pagan. We will have a look. Atheism and humanism are political, proselytizing religions like Islam. They are political, proselytizing religions like Islam. Atheism in government has always led to totalitarianism and genocide. Bear that in mind. Atheism historically in power and government has ultimately always led to totalitarianism and mass killing.
Oh my goodness, can you please go back? Like these last two statements are mind-boggling. So a lot of times I have said in my live chats and live comments and all that, and I said that atheism is Islam without Muhammad and Allah. And apparently these last two sentences that you derived are telling us the same thing.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like it's the same thing. It's you just said it in a different manner, but you actually said the same thing. This is crazy. All right, guys, see, you are getting the proofs today for a lot of things that I have not provided the proof, just stated things. Please continue, sir.
Right. So they always say, don't force your Christianity on me. Don't force your beliefs on me. Well, atheists are forcing their beliefs on us. So humanists and atheists effectively the same thing for the purposes of our talk. Humanists argue that they do not force beliefs on people because they believe their beliefs are neutral. Now, humanists preach a faith every bit as dogmatic as Christianity. And in fact, if you read the founders of atheism, if you read the founders of modern humanism, in their textbooks, in their writings, in their quotes, in their comments, in their papers, they claim it's a new religion, the new religion. We are the replacement religion. We're better than Christianity. We're a religion that is more scientific. They constantly preach they are a religion. So moral relativism is foundational for secular humanist ethics. Moral relativism, huh? Spontaneous generation and evolution are basic to their biology. Naturalism is foundational to their philosophy. And atheism is their theological perspective, right? So the US Supreme Court validates the claim that humanism is a religion, right? In 1961, the Supreme Court handed down the Torcaso versus Watkins decision regarding a Maryland notary public who was initially disqualified from office because he would not declare a belief in God. But the court ruled in his favor. It argued that theistic religions, right, religions that believe in one God, could not be favored by the court over what they called non-theistic religions. And in a footnote, it clarified what it meant by non-theistic religions. Now, there's a great deal more than this, but I can only go through a little bit of it. But among religions in this country which do not teach what would generally be considered a belief in the existence of God are Buddhism, Taoism, ethical culture, secular humanism, and others. And there are explicit references to atheism in other papers, but fine. So this is from the actual footnote of the paper, right? So now the footnote was written by Justice Hugo L. Black, and he elaborates the point, right? They speak of secular humanism and others because secular humanism is what atheists often turn to. Like if you take Nuria Khan, she's a humanist. She's a secular humanist. She says, no, I'm a humanist. I believe in humans. And when you start examining secular humanism, well, we'll be surprised. So the next time the ACLU or any of these groups, right, when they attack a cross or school prayer, right, when they attack someone crossing himself or wanting to have the word God in public life, right, or singing a Christmas carol in a school program or something, or a prayer to graduation, you have to start speaking out against their true goal because they're in an all-out campaign to eradicate Christianity in favor of their religion of humanism. Because humanism is not a neutral position. Atheism is not a neutral position. It is a religion, and it is formally recognized by the United States Supreme Court as a religion, and they're forcing their religion. And you now need to choose which one you want to win, because these guys are pushing their religion.
So what you're telling me is that these guys are against freedom of religion?
Yes, they want their religion. They want to force their religion.
So United States, if I'm not mistaken, has a law that says freedom of speech and freedom of religion. I think they call it
Correct.
amendment,
So they
First
are
Amendment or
violating that
something.
law. Yes. See, they're enforcing a non-theistic, state-enforced religion, not reason. So if humanism is a religion, then it cannot be established by the government. And according to the Supreme Court, atheism as well as humanism are religions.
So that
So
goes against the First Amendment of the United States. I just searched on the
and the
internet again.
Establishment Clause, yes.
So that
Yes.
means that these atheists, which are now claiming to be humanist at this moment, they don't have a position which is neutral position, but rather they have a position which enforces their position upon everyone, and that's it.
Yes. An anti-Christian position. Yes.
Interesting.
So
All right.
it matters if humanism is classified as a religion in our society. So think, what if the moral beliefs of the LGBT movement, which is part of the atheist movement, part of the humanist movement, right? Because they're not Christians, right? So what if the moral beliefs of the LGBTQ movement, all these crazies, are consistent with that of humanism? Because one, they are. And two, governments are establishing those moral beliefs as law. You can be arrested, sent to prison, prosecuted, fined, lose your job for not accepting those things. You see, those are humanist positions. That's part of the humanist religion as recognized in the law. And the government has established this. They have established it around the world as law. And they're prosecuting people who don't agree with their religion.
So, by the way, your letters are little. I think your presentation is old. Right now, it's LGBTQ plus, and then some more letters which I don't remember right now. So they are adding more and more letters into it. I don't know how they are getting it, but it's like um,
Yeah.
I don't know. In a very soon, it will be a sentence.
Yeah, exactly. And a partridge in a pear tree. So yeah, LGBT A to Z, exactly. So now modern atheism's roots. Let's look at one of the roots of atheism. A French, always the French, don't know why, and the Germans. So this is a philosopher called Diderot, right? And he wrote this little dictionary of reason and science, right? So atheism in Diderot and D'Alembert's Encyclopédie is the opinion of those who deny the existence of a God in the world. Now we're going back to like the French Revolution times, right? Roughly speaking.
Ah.
So atheism is the opinion of those who deny the existence of a God in the world. Okay, these are the grandfathers of modern atheism. So it is the opinion of those who deny the existence of God. The simple ignorance of God does not constitute atheism. To be charged with the odious title of atheism, one must have the notion of God and reject it. Wow, that runs against the common atheist claim.
Absolutely. In
See,
opposite direction.
now atheists claim that they lean on the Enlightenment, right? They lean on these Enlightenment philosophers because that's where reason is, and these Enlightenment philosophers are telling us, yeah, atheism is we deny that there's a God. We looked at God and we don't like him. We reject it. So atheists, well, they need to study history a little closer. So with Voltaire, he advocated for the destruction of religion. Voltaire was also extremely anti-Christian. He stated that he wanted to live long enough to see the last king strangled by the entrails of the last priest. So he wanted to see the monarchy and Christianity violently destroyed.
Nice. Nice.
So,
Bad, but nice. Nice to
yep.
know the position of the early atheism, not modern atheism.
So pre-Enlightenment, right, before the Enlightenment, science did not exist as a supposed rationale or motivator to push people to atheism. See, so this gives us evidence that the excuse of science at the time, because science was not a factor, was not at play. So this was a rebellion against authority. So atheism is propagandized as intellectual, but historically it is linked to political and social factors. It's a reaction, a negative reaction to the establishment of the time. It is a belief that defines itself always in opposition to the status quo. So atheism was founded upon rebellion against church and state, with the intent to establish in the modern era a new utopian state with a new man in the image of man, not God. And this is explicitly written in a number of these atheist scholars who promoted atheism and used it as the foundation of their political beliefs, right? For instance, the French Revolution, and we'll cover a little bit of all of these. So the French Revolution, right? We have the cult of reason. So now during the French Revolution, reason, because they said, no, we're acting now on reason. We've killed the priests, we've destroyed the church, we've wiped out Christianity. In the name of atheism, we have destroyed the church, and we're going to now found our new French state, the first atheist state, on reason. And reason referred to a belief in rationality, science, and the active rejection of traditional religious beliefs and practices. It was not a neutral position. It was specifically violently anti-Christian. So the cult of reason, right, a literal cult, emerged during the French Revolution, wanting to replace Christianity with a new religion based on reason and rationality. What they discovered was the people still wanted to believe, so they had to give them a new belief, a new religion, but just without the divine parts. So it's just really a new religion. Adam?
Very, very interesting. You are giving me shocks after shocks.
Ja. RJ, ek kan Afrikaans praat, ook so Duits verstaan, Duits praat, en asook Hollands en Vlaams verstaan en bietjie praat. Okay, so moving on.
I have no idea what you said right now.
Yeah, someone asked me a question in Afrikaans there. So
Okay.
he asked me how many languages I speak. So the cult of reason, right, was founded in 1793 as part of the de-Christianization movement happening in France at the time. Obviously, it was led by radicals, right? These are violent revolutionaries who believed that the traditional religions of Europe were oppressive and irrational, and that a new religion based on reason and rationality was needed to replace those. And the cult was based on the principles of Enlightenment philosophy, which emphasized reason and rationality in human affairs, right? So the cult's leaders believed that reason was the way that you unlock the potential of humanity. That's how you become a greater man, the superior man, right? Creating a more just and equitable society, DEI. Now, socialists and Satanists also happen to believe the same, as we will see, and might be surprising. So the cult of reason believed that reason was the only legitimate basis for morality and ethics. Traditional religious beliefs were irrational, were superstitious. They rejected a supernatural god, but they worshipped the goddess of reason, Isis, the Egyptian goddess, a pagan deity. And she was the personification of the cult's values and belief, because they're not religious. They're not pagan either.
Goddess of reason. So actually, they created a god of reason to deny God. So they
Yes.
created a god to deny God, and then they became an atheist, like who denied
Yeah.
theism.
Makes sense, right?
It, no, it it doesn't make it. It is so stupid.
It's idolatry, as Andrew says there. So it was a short-lived religion. It had a significant impact on the French Revolution and the development of modern secularism, atheism, and what we now call scientific socialism. Right? Then we get to Karl Marx. But now notice here, this is Madame Blavatsky. She's a um, very famous occultist of the era. Right? Very, very famous occultist. So this is a book, A Modern Priestess of Isis. This book by the Russian novelist. Okay. This guy, whatever his name is, translated and abridged and published, blah, 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 reflects on the life of Madame Helena Blavatsky, co-founder of the Theosophy movement in the United States. Now, she was an occultist, right? This was fully into paganism and the occult and whatnot, all the weirdness that people associate with the occult. And yeah, and notice here, there is no religion higher than truth, because that's what atheists also do claim. But notice, you've got this sort of, I think this is a Hindu symbol, Sanskrit. You've got the Nazi symbol, you've got the Jewish symbol, you've got the Egyptian Ankh here, you've got the snake, the Ouroboros. So this is syncretism, which is the joining of multiple contradictory ideas, smashing it together into a soup and saying, well, we believe all of these things. It's like that coexist sign. Or it is indifferentism. Indifferentism is you don't really care. So either this is syncretism, where they've taken a bunch of ideas that don't match and said, we believe all of these things, or that. And she also believes in Isis, and she's an occultist. Now, why would the atheists want to adopt occult symbolism?
Unless they are occult.
Well, we're going to have a look at that. So let's look at the atheist occult enlightenment. Again, I can only touch very briefly on these things, right, for the time. So for the French revolutionaries, nature was a way to legitimize their policies and laws, because this is natural. What we're doing is natural. It's not this superstitious God nonsense. It's natural. We're following the way of the laws of nature. So they equated with the rule of law, right, during the mythical golden age. So there was a golden age in the past, and they are returning to the past, this golden age of Greece or whatever, okay? And the leaders of the revolution repackaged pre-Christian religious traditions as a new, rational, and natural religious system for the French Republic, stripping off the superstition of the church and returning man to a mythical golden age guided by general revelation, or by smart scientist priests making up their own little stories. So these state religions, they married paganism to what was the then in vogue natural philosophy, proclaiming a new syncretic belief as a rational belief. So the French thinkers dug into their libraries to gain insights into what did primitive religions look like, because they realized they needed a new religion, but one that wasn't Christian. So they took elements from these long defunct religions and heretical practices, then proclaimed that the state's authority came from nature itself, not from God, the church, or from the kings. Right? Now, there's an interesting book here by John V. Fleming, The Dark Side of the Enlightenment. And it's an insane read. Wizards, alchemists, and spiritual seekers in the age of reason. These people were nuts. You go to Prague, you go to the various museums here, and it's a cult. Man, it's a festival of the occult, and these are all atheists. It's insanity how crazy these people were. But the Enlightenment was heavily Freemasonic and occultist, and that's historical. Before I go on, your thoughts?
No, brother, nothing. Continue. It is crazy, and it is getting crazier.
So his book discusses Rosicrucianism along with alchemy and other occult experiences in England and Germany, with some discussions of the French Enlightenment, right? So Enlightenment philosophers throughout Europe nurtured the flame of occultism, oddly enough, and it's crazy when you start to dig into the facts, right? Through practices such as Freemasonry, and they enabled the fire to flare up again in the Romantic era. So these guys were all just secret knowledge junkies.
So,
So now,
the,
yeah,
so basically, when we look at Islam, it goes into the same Freemasonrism and occultism. So,
yes.
like these, like that is why if we look into the West right now, these two are kind of so closely mingled at this moment in a way because they both goes back to the same sources. What do you think?
Well, if you look at things like Rosicrucianism, right? The
Mm,
Rosy Cross, and the man who created it was supposed to be a man called Christian Rosenkreuz, right? So
mm-hmm,
his name was Christian Rosy Cross or Christian Red Cross, right? Now, he lived in the 1300s. I think, if I recall, I might get the date slightly wrong here, but the Rosicrucians started, I think, in the 15 or 1600s. They announced themselves, but they claimed to have come from a movement that had a different name or operated under many different names for hundreds of years prior, and they linked themselves to Christian Rosycross, Christian Rosenkranz or Rosenkreuz, whatever. And he apparently went to Morocco and Egypt and other places, where he went to Muslim lands and he learned from Sufis the secrets. And then he came back to Europe and he created a secret society, and they operated quietly for hundreds of years. And then they announced themselves eventually as the Rosicrucians. That's like their founding myth. So, yeah, it goes back to Islam. Even the Muslims claim that they founded the Freemasons.
wow. So they started their knowledge and journey from Sufi Islam, not Sufism, guys, not the Sufism of India. We are talking about Sufi Islam,
Yeah.
which is a separate, different thing. So this is crazy in itself, and that's why uh, the leaders, the occultist, woke, atheist leaders in the West are joining hands with Islam because they know that Islam is the biggest anti-Christian cult movement. And that's what they are to begin with as a modern atheism, or if you look at Rosy Cross or whatever movements that are happening, they started as an anti-Christian cult movement, and Islam they think is joining hands with them because they are both anti-Christian to begin with. That's a
Mhm.
separate thing that eventually they're going to attack Islam as well. But for now, they are more against Christians to begin with. Then they will fight with the Islam. But at that time, Islam is a bigger python because if it grows too big, it will gonna eat everything, and they have no idea
Right.
what they are growing at this moment. That's what's happening. Perfect. That all of these pieces of puzzles are aligning together, and atheists are on the top of it to make that happen and be the fuel of this particular fire.
Right. So now, of course, they try to infiltrate the church. They try to undermine the church as well. So Jonathan Israel wrote some very interesting work on this, history on this, and he says the radical enlightenment, because along with the enlightenment, you had what's called the radical enlightenment, which was even crazier. These guys were revolutionary. Not to say that the enlightenment wasn't wacky enough, but these guys were, this was extreme. So he said the radical enlightenment cannot be simply equated with atheism. He says religious people played an important part in the radical enlightenment, as they did in the French Revolution. But he says they were always Unitarians or Socinians of some kind. They were always Unitarians involved in these radical atheist movements, which is really interesting. These are Unitarians who
Hmm.
reject the Trinity. So these are heretics,
And Islam.
which is very similar to Islam, because because like Islam, they don't believe in the divinity of Jesus. They don't believe in the Trinity. They don't believe in the Godhead, as you know. So there's a certain, and these ideas came out of areas that were strongly influenced by Islam in Central and Eastern Europe. So these groups,
So
yep,
even from the very beginning, atheists took the support of Unitarians to grow.
yeah, they want to be legitimate, right? So they're working together against those evil Trinitarians.
Wow. Wow. The missing pieces of puzzles. Awesome.
So
Continue, sir.
so these groups rejected orthodox views like the Trinity and Jesus' divinity, and they emphasized reason, as they define it, free will, and a more rational approach to religion. Notice they emphasize free will, but atheists don't believe in free will anyway. They believe that everything is mechanically determined. So they don't believe in free will anyway. So, how can we be making choices if they don't believe in free will? So the Socinians, they were a 16th century Protestant sect, a dissenting Protestant sect, mainly in Italy and Poland. They were kicked out of Italy and ended up in Poland. So they were people like Joseph Priestley, Richard Price, or John Jebb, or Thomas Paine. They are supposed, now Thomas Paine was, well, there's some issues there, but that's not topical for now. So these are supposed believers who will not accept a religious authority. So they intended for a complete elimination of all religious authority based purely on personal subjective beliefs. They would read the Bible. No one can tell them how to believe, how to interpret anything. They will read it and decide for themselves, right? They rejected all authority. So these people were relentless in proclaiming reason as the sole guide, rejecting all previous historical tradition, all revelation, all authority, because they believed in private revelation only, which is the gnosis. So these people are now entering Gnostic territory, which was the very first heresy that threatened the church. So religion for them is something that the individual believes in, but they don't believe in any kind of institutional organization, the church, and so on. They don't take teaching from anyone. It's all every man for himself. Everyone believes his own thing. Okay, that was just a bit of history there, but so let me add. So, but just be aware that there's an overlap between certain religious groups and these people as well, and they do try to infiltrate where they can, right? So let's talk about the Marquis de Sade. Some people will have heard of him. This is a paper from the National Library of Medicine, right? And I've got it all listed here as well. So in 17, so this is from the National Library of Medicine, National Centers for Biotechnology Information, and this article is written 1980. Okay. In 1795, now this is a very famous atheist. Now, atheists claim, look, we're based on reason. We're proud to have come from the Enlightenment. We bring a better world, better ideas. We're more moral. So in the 1795, the Marquis de Sade published his books, right? La Philosophique dans le Boudoir, like the philosophy of the bedroom, in which he proposed the use of induced abortion. So this atheist in 1795 proposes the use of induced abortion for social reasons and as a means of population control. Interesting. It is from this time that medical and social acceptance of abortion can be dated. Previously, the subject
Wow.
had not been discussed in public in modern times. Your thoughts?
Wow. So we are going all the way to almost like the 19th century, 1795. I'll put it in 1905 years to go to 1800. Uh, that is when they started this abortionism, where we are having a lot of fights in the recent US elections as well about abortionism and all that kind of thing. So that is
It's an
going,
atheist idea. And this guy
wow.
started it for population control. I thought population controls are things the communists do, and that's evil. But atheism is reason and good, you see?
But this population control has destroyed the West as well. So these people did population control in the West and not in the East. So now everyone from the East are migrating into the West, and the people in the East are actually Muslims, obviously.
Yep.
That's where Islam flourished. So you have a lot of Muslim population getting in, because you do not, for example, in Italy, there are a lot of areas in Italy where population growth has gone so down the drain that they have nothing remaining, and they need people to jump in, and they are getting any Tom, Dick, and Harry there without looking into it. So
Yep.
this the decline of the population in different parts of the world has, and I did another stream of invasions of Islam in the West, where I showed how a Muslim birth rate is 2.9 versus most of the Western countries at the birth rate of 1.1 to 1.6, which means two people are not even creating two people, which means they can't even sustain. They are creating
Mhm.
less people, so they are going to go down. And according to the
Yeah.
research, if the population of a country goes below 1.5, there is no reversible chance, full stop, for that area to have no human being after 100 years, and that's what's happening.
Yep. So don't have kids, people, because atheists don't want you to have kids because it's bad for the world. Oh my God, we're not having kids. We need to import all of Africa into France. So yeah, you figure it out. So now he writes here, it was largely due to de Sade's writing that induced abortion received the impetus which resulted in its subsequent spread in Western society. And he says here, now the Marquis de Sade, anyone who knows of him know that the word sadism, the word sadist, this is someone who tortures people for fun. This is psychopathic. A
That's like
sadist
Muhammad.
tortures. Sorry?
That's like Muhammad.
Yes. And the man who coined that term is an atheist. These holy atheists, right, who bring reason and logic to everything. Well, they gave us the term sadism. And also the man was let's just say he had certain sexual deviancies that he made very popular. So now notice, de Sade held all life cheaply. He didn't respect life at all. And he spent most of his life attacking God and the Christian church. So, right, his book, The Philosophy of the Bedroom, attacks established religion, established morality. It attacks the family ties, and social structures. And it advocates sodomy, incest, lust, and cruelty for its own sake. Because that's what you do when you're a moral atheist.
Alhamdulillah. All ham is for Allah. That's the meaning.
So, so basically Karl Marx came along and also wanted to destroy established religion, established morality, family ties, and social structures. That's a Marxist idea. But he also said, look, we need more gay people. We don't have enough. Let's raise a lot of gay people, and let's increase the amount of lust and cruelty. Let's just be cruel because it's nice to be cruel to people. Let's torture puppies and people because. So he scorned the view that man is not blah. Okay, never mind. So the realistic view, according to de Sade, was that since murder is such a trivial matter, murder doesn't matter. It's okay. Who cares? Destruction of an infant which has not achieved the age of reason is of small consequence. Murder doesn't matter. So look, kids can't think properly. What the hell? Kill them. This is post-birth abortion.
Interesting. And by the way, gayism and lesbianism is actually created to reduce the number of people and population growth as well, because obviously a gay cannot have children and a lesbian cannot have children. So all the people that goes into LGBTQ plus group, you know what they are doing? They are reducing the population replenishment level into a much lower level, and that's exactly what they need. Because if the atheists have their way, they will destroy everyone and create their own, and that's exactly what they are doing. It's a cultish movement where they don't want anybody else to flourish. That's what it is.
Right. So now, Fyodor Dostoevsky said, if there is no God, then everything is permitted because God is the moral arbiter. He's the ultimate moral truth.
He's
So-
kind of right. He's kind of right. By the way, was he an atheist?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, so he's kind
Well,
of
not to
right
my
in a
knowledge,
way.
but I mean, so basically during the French Revolution, these atheists gave people a choice. You can become an atheist, or you can stick with your religion, and we'll kill you. See,
Chapter
so-
number 9, verse number 29. Did these atheists read the Quran to give these two
You know, I
options?
have to wonder what they were reading at the time. So they decided to de-Christianize France by killing Christians. Right?
Nice. Just like the Islam did for Egypt.
So yeah, very similar. So atheism is a choice, exactly. So for instance, here they've got these are drawings of the period, right? The massacres. You can see people being killed with axes here. This is a woman here. So they spoke of a priest called Lefranc, right? The massacre of September 2nd at the convent of the Carmelites in Paris, with 191 other priests murdered. They just went and killed. So on September 2, 1792, at Cam's prison in Paris, over 100 Catholic priests were jailed within an old monastery. Their crime was they refused to give up Christianity for the beliefs of the new secular atheist republic. Atheists love to say no one ever got killed in the name of atheism. Well, yeah, you just read a little bit of history, you'll find out. A mob stormed the prison and they slaughtered 191 priests. So that bloodbath was just one of several, right? It's remembered as the September massacres. Over 4 days, between 1,200 and 1,600 people were murdered. So now, Dinesh D'Souza tells us, thanks to the new crop of atheist boosters, we hear a lot about the 500-year-old crimes of the Inquisition. But less than 2 decades after the collapse of godless communism, there's an eerie silence about the mass graves of the Soviet Gulag. Now, the most deadly century we've ever had is the 20th century. The 20th century saw the rise of communism. The communists murdered more people in the first 80 years of the 20th century than mankind has killed in the previous 2,000 plus years.
Wow. So you're telling me they topped Islam as well?
Possibly, but no, Islam's had a 1400-year head start, so maybe not, but no one even knows how many people the Muslims have killed. I mean, potentially the numbers are as high as what, 600 million in India
Yeah.
over a long period. But yeah, I mean,
Yes.
so no one knows, but we know that these guys murdered 180 million easily in the 20th century alone.
Wow. That is a killer cult for sure.
So now the atheist purge, so the atrocities were part of a deliberate, escalating campaign of violence known as de-Christianization, by which the atheists purged religion from France in the name of reason and rationality. They were killing people in the name of reason because that makes it better. So atheists like Pierre Chomey and Jacques Hébert argued that this was necessary so that reason would triumph over superstition and fanaticism. Because you Christians are fanatical and superstitious, so we're just going to kill everybody. We're going to slaughter the lot of you because it's necessary to prevent fanaticism, right?
Oh man, these sentences doesn't even make sense. Like even when you're reading it, uh,
Yeah.
how can they justify these sentences back in those days when even right now when I'm reading the sentence, it doesn't make sense at all. Like you're gonna so let's assume the Christians were killing people. Let's assume for the sake of argument. So now
Mhm.
you're going to kill every Christian because the reason says that if X number of people of a society is killing somebody, you're going to destroy each and every person of that society.
Yeah, because
How,
it's a good idea. Because
uh,
reason,
what kind of a reason is this? Like is this reason coming out of a butthole instead of a brain?
something like that.
All right, fair enough. No
Yep.
argument on that then.
So in their eyes, the churches were weeds in need of plowing so that their enlightened ideas could grow, because they need to kill Christianity and all Christians and destroy all the churches so that they can have the scientific rationality that would take place, right? Crosses were taken from altars, bells were plundered, were melted down. The calendar was changed from a 7-day to a 10-day week because that's the decimal system, right? 10, whatever, based, whatever. And Sundays were removed so that there would no day to worship. So they changed to a 10-day calendar and took out the Sundays. Notice the Soviet Union did the very same,
Hmm,
right?
interesting.
And the Sundays were taken out. And then the secularists, right, no longer wanted to base their dating system on the birth of Jesus. So they renamed their calendar, or they restarted their calendar on the birth of their revolution, which is exactly what the Muslims did with their Hijri calendar.
Alhamdulillah. So everybody
All
wants to
hand
change the
to Allah,
calendar.
take beer.
Take beer. Which one?
Corona this
All
time.
right. I'll use the Indian IPL League, whatever the name
No,
is.
because it's part of the Mexican thesis. We need to consider the Mexican thesis because that's something I started on my channel. It's the Mexican thesis because everyone knows that Jesus is actually is a Mexican name. So Jesus was actually Mexican, and then everyone in Jerusalem heard about this. They took that idea, they transplanted the whole story into Jerusalem, and then they started a whole fake story when Jesus was actually from Mexico. That's the
Uh,
Mexican thesis. You heard it here first.
uh, uh, am I still living in this world right now with
You are, but then
humans?
yeah, but the thing is, so everyone knows Jesus was a Muslim, but they don't know that first he was Mexican before that.
Okay. Like the whole,
Sorry.
the whole, the whole problem here is that everybody wants Jesus, yet nobody wants to follow Jesus. That's the
Yeah, I know.
problem that I
Everybody
see.
claims him. No, someone literally wrote in my chat that Jesus is a Mexican name. Jesus is a Mexican name, and that actually the whole thing was in Mexico. And I was like, that I can't be reading that, but man, look, yeah,
That guy must have had a lot of coronas before he would say such a thing.
yeah. And for those who don't realize, I'm being sarcastic. Okay, that's called sarcasm. Okay,
So
so
there are people who didn't understand your sarcasm.
yeah,
Man, we
some people think I'm serious. It's just when you watch my channel, I make a lot of these kinds of jokes. Just please beware. So let's talk about humanist Canada. Let's go back to humanism, right? Let's have a
yeah.
look at what modern humanists say, right? And then go back in the past again and compare. So, humanism is a philosophy or life stance based on a profound respect for human dignity and the conviction that we are all ultimately accountable to ourselves and to society for our actions. Our worldview is deity free. So, they are atheists, right? And affirms our ability and responsibility to lead ethical and meaningful lives without reliance upon a belief in the supernatural, right? Notice they say here that as humanists, reason and science are the best ways to understand the world around us, and compassion should always be the basis for how we act towards others. Humanist Canada is committed to advancing free thinking, which is atheism. It's free thinking is just a euphemism for atheism, and freedom of choice, killing babies, just like Marquis de Sade, so that we can all live in a fair and equal society. Through and then notice here, these are atheists. They don't believe in church. They don't believe in structured religion, but through our ceremonies, ceremonies,
What ceremony they can do if they do
they
not
do
believe?
ceremonies. They get together in a building and they do ceremonies. Doesn't remind me of
Uh,
anything.
so oh my God.
And they do services as well. They just call them
Ah,
educational services.
service. So they do service and ceremonies,
It's not
and yet
church, but
they
it's not church. Believe me, it's not church. It's not the same thing. It's a group of people that get together in rows and they sit in us and they have sermons and lectures, but it's not a church. I promise you.
it's yeah, it's not a church because there's no cross there, right? So, and what is church? Church is not a building. And if the people who could not understand the sarcasm in this word,
Yeah,
church is the people who are called out to come and do ceremonies and services, or we can call them communions. So they
yep,
are doing the exact same thing. They are theists in some other
yeah.
form where they do not
It's,
believe in.
remember,
They're
it's a copy of Christianity without divinity.
without Jesus. It's a copy of Christianity without Jesus because yes, there is some God there, whatever they call themselves as, whatever it is. Okay.
Yeah. So, and we
Groups.
bring we
Mhm.
bring humanism to communities across the country. That's called dawah. We
Islamic
bring
Dawah.
humanism to communities. We preach. We convert people. We and we raise awareness on the national stage. We want to spread our religion actively. We proselytize. See?
So you're telling me that the atheist word in Canada and some part of the world has been changed into humanist because atheist word has a lot of dirty background. So they
Yeah.
changed it. Okay, let's create a new name for us because the atheist word, when people realize and read the history, is bad. Let's rebrand it. So they rebranded atheism into humanist,
Humanism,
but the
effectively. Yeah.
application or the book or the Quran that they have is similar to what atheism have.
Something like that. So let's have a look at the seven fundamental tenets. Okay, let's have a look at these seven fundamental tenets. Let's try and figure which group, which religion teaches this. Okay, you must strive to act with compassion. Now remember, compassion, 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 right? And free thinking and fair and equal society, communism, right? Fair and equal, socialism, right there. So we must strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason. Does that sound like this humanism stuff, this atheism stuff? Does it?
Nope, 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 absolutely not. No,
It should. No, no. Come
no,
on, reason
no,
and
no.
science,
No.
compassion.
No.
Say yes.
You,
Say yes. Humor me here.
okay, okay, I'll say yes.
The struggle for justice, we want justice, all right? Social justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws. So what is right must prevail over the law. If you
What?
believe
What?
that,
What? 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 Okay, okay, okay. So, no, okay, this part two, like one, I was sarcastic. Two is like I can't even be sarcastic. So, what are you telling me here? So
No.
you're telling.
Let's take them very seriously. Let's take these guys very seriously for the moment.
Okay,
We
let's
need
take
to
it
give
very
them.
seriously.
So, see, your view, your personal view of justice must prevail over the country's laws because your opinion, your feelings of justice must prevail. You see, no humans are illegal. We need to let in all these people because they're not illegal, because we don't care about laws, you see, because this is justice. You see? That's what they believe here. Your body is inviolable, subject to your own will alone. No one can tell you what to do with your body. If you want to kill people, that's great. You do that. The freedoms of others, right? They mean babies here, right? Abortion. It's a reference to abortion. The freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. But don't offend them. That's not important. That's not allowed.
So you
To
can
willfully and
offend everyone, but nobody can offend you. So it's
yeah,
like, you know, Islam can say anything to anybody, but nobody can say anything to Islam. So it seems like they're copying everything from Islam.
right. So then, of course, to willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of others is to forego one's own. Beliefs must conform.
Perfect, man. This is so perfect. I love this slide.
Right. And then beliefs must conform to your best scientific understanding of the world. Okay. Your beliefs, your best science, reason and science are the best ways to understand the world, right? So you must always have your best scientific understanding. That's how you understand the world. And you must never distort scientific facts to fit your beliefs. And then, of course, the spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice must always prevail over the written or spoken word. So your feelings of what are compassion, wisdom, and justice must always prevail over any books of law, books of religion, whatever. Okay. In other words, your subjective stance, your subjective sense stands over and above the law. So which religion teaches this?
Just put Islam over there, and it will fulfill everything because that's where you actually put niyat over there as well. I don't know how you actually
Yeah,
did that.
niyat, intention of outcome, but that's in
That's an
Islam.
Arabic word for Islam.
But these are the 7 fundamental tenets of the Satanic Temple.
Oh, mashallah. Subhanallah, subhanallah, subhanallah.
Can you see that this is
Masha.
identical to the tenets of humanism, which is atheism? The Satanic
Perfect.
Temple and atheism have exactly the same ideas.
So these tenants are of the Satanic Temple,
Temple
not of the
on their
atheism,
website.
on their own website, not of
On their
Islam.
website,
So you're telling me all three are equal, basically.
pretty much.
They're all three equal. Islam, Satanic Temple, atheists, they're all equal. And now Canadian Humanist Organization, which they have their tenants. So they're all equal. So it's like X equal to Y is equal to Z and equal to A kind of a thing. That's just crazy. That
So the
is
Satanic
crazy.
Temple, humanists who claim to be, so compassionate. Yeah, there's no conflict with Satanism and humanism. So let's continue. Satanic atheism. It's enlightened, of course. We all know that. So let's take Anton LaVey. His Satanism, he wrote, is atheistic. It's a carnal religion, in other words, a sexual religion. Followers believe that all gods are fictitious, that ultimate importance is found in the self. Become a narcissist. Importance is found in you. You are important. You must find your own importance, right? And you must pursue self interests, not love thy neighbor. It's love thyself. Satan, he says, yep, Satan is not a deity, but a metaphor. There's no real there's no such thing as an actual. We're Satanists, but Satan doesn't exist. He's just a metaphor. Sure. And he says the ultimate adversary. Satan is an adversary of irrationality and religious beliefs. Satan stands against superstition. You see, Satan is the champion of science. You see?
Wow.
So the name Satan comes from the Hebrew for one who opposes. Who opposes what? So he says you can have secular symbolism, you can have rituals, you can have pageantry. So basically, like services, right? You can have like services like a church. And it's very effective and something that is part of the nature of the human animal. The ritual chamber can be a place where you can dramatically perform what I call self-transformational psychodrama. That's why they teach, have screaming sessions, go in the forest and scream at the trees and scream into pillows and grab a stick and beat trees and take a hammer and break things, because that's That's self-transformational psychodrama, psychology, satanic psychology to replace religion, you see? Anything but Christianity. We release the emotions that we find would be injuring us in the regular pursuit of our happiness so that we can let them go. So it's not that we're just looking for disorder. Now, this is from Lucian Greaves. Okay, he's the head of the Satan. He's like the spokesman for the Satanic Temple. It's not that we're just looking for disorder. He says we're looking for disorder and chaos and to undermine Western civilization. But he says we are trying to endorse Enlightenment values. We
And we
want
just
to
said,
bring reason and respect for science into bettering the human condition, which is exactly what atheists also say. Nuria Khan, I believe in Enlightenment values. I believe in reason and science will improve the human condition. Atheists say it. I've heard Nuria say it. I've heard loads of atheists say it. Probably Dawkins and Hitchens and all of these people saying the same thing. Atheism and, yep, and
but
Satanism.
like, so do they? So these new people, like for example, Nuri, I had in a conversation with Nuria a couple of times in the past as well. So does Nuria actually knows this?
No,
What she's saying,
I
how it
doubt
is
it.
actually connected to all of this?
No, I doubt it.
A lot
Atheists
of
don't want to know.
a lot of new I-N-E-W, no, new, not neo atheists, new atheists that we see in the world right now, they have no idea what they're following. It's just like Islam. When people join Islam, they have no idea what they've joined. They just hear stuff from others and they join that cult. So it's the same thing that these people joined this cultish movement without knowing what it is, and they think it's right. It looks good. The words, the choice of words are pretty decent, but at the end of the day, it's just the same cult. Does
Hmm.
that make sense to you?
It's a cult, just a different cult. They still want religion, just not Christianity. They reject God. Do you understand? We're coming back to they reject God. They reject Jesus. They reject the church. They reject Christianity. But they want to replace it with something that's in their image. Man in the image of man.
Hmm. Okay. Oh,
So
he's the
Aaron
biggest
Ra,
atheist in the world right now.
yeah, but so he says here, why did I join the Satanic Temple? Because, you see, because the Christian right is imposing themselves, right? The Satanists are the good guys. The Satanists are the ones advocating for tolerance,
Huh?
you know? Yeah, yeah. And he says, I don't need any rituals. I joined to support their human rights activism. It's all about human rights, Open those borders, you know? Let those kids trans themselves, Send that 4-year-old off to have their willy cut off. Yeah, human rights, man.
Awesome. I feel
Yep.
I feel sorrow and sad for these people now.
So atheism and Satanism are compatible. They share the same philosophy. Enlightenment philosophy is then by definition compatible with Satanism. See? So let's have a look at atheistic woke Satanism. So this was something that was a big thing a couple of years ago. Satan respects pronouns. Satan respects your pronouns. This was a t-shirt they sold in the UK.
I fully understand that Satan should respect these pronouns. I am with him on that. I am with him on that.
Yeah. So now woke is satanic, as we're starting to see, woke is satanic, atheism is satanic, and woke is Marxist, and Marxism is Satanist. And we're going to see that in a moment. So Satan loves you and respects who you are. You're important and valuable in this world, and you deserve to treat yourself with love and respect, you narcissist. I've been thinking a lot lately about the Satanic Temple, and to a lesser extent, the Church of Satan, and how they are so frequently misunderstood and demonized. Pun not intended. This is from the company that created this brand that makes the satanic clothing, and how LGBT plus people are often referred to as being a product of Satan or going against God's will. But see, we are tolerant. See, Satanists
Mm.
don't actually believe in Satan. Yeah, of course you don't. Gee whiz, what was I thinking? Christians don't believe in God either. It's like it's just a symbol.
Yeah,
Sure.
Christians don't believe in Christ and Satanists do not believe in Satan. Perfect.
Yeah,
Makes
Muslims
sense.
don't believe in Allah either. He's just a symbol.
Exactly. Dude, absolutely agreed with you on that.
100%. So Satan is merely used as a symbol of passion, pride, and liberty. He means to you what you need him to mean. Ooh. So for me, Satan is hope, compassion, equality, and love.
So sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
so
no.
sorry. I'm so sorry, but you spoke about Mexicans, right? There you go. No, nothing else to say. That is
No.
crazy.
So Satan loves the LGBT plus. The Church of Satan openly accepts LGBT plus. It has done so since the 60s when it was created, and the more recent Satanic Temple accepts them too with open arms. So let me see. Woke, Satanism, LGBT, and atheists seem to be all on the very same page. Isn't that just fascinating? So let's
Give
go
me a
back.
second.
Yeah.
Give me a second. Somebody deleted this comment. Do not delete any comment which is coming for me as a negative to all the moderators who are here. I do not like people deleting the comments which is going against me in the live chat. So this guy said, good year. Never expected Adam to be this stupid. Lost all respect for him today. Creating straw men to ridicule atheists is the old hobby of Abrahamic cultist. But this is taking to meme level. All right, good year. Listen to me very carefully. Never in the history of me creating live streams, I ever said atheists are right. Atheist is anti-theism. We are showing you what data is and history is. Number one. Number two, it's not a neutral position. Agnosticism is a neutral position. It makes sense that a person is looking and trying to find instead of saying there is no God with a surety and full stop. So if you thought of me as somebody different, it is your stupid brain which thought of me as something different. It's not my fault. Number one. Number two, if you do not have the ability and capability to know the difference between atheist and agnostic, it is your problem. And that is what we are showing here, that you have no idea what atheism is. So learn what atheism is before you say anything about me or somebody. All right. So we are giving you the data. It's not straw manning. We are giving you all the data, history, and the divine fathers of atheists, what they said, what they wrote, and what they are saying and doing. So before you are saying something, learn. And when you have a logical argument to refute, you are more than welcome to join in. You can ask me, Adam, give me the link. You are wrong here. I'm going to prove it to you otherwise. That would have been a better way instead of babbling. All right. So bring your evidence and let me know when you have the evidence, and I will give you the link to join in. That is how easy it is. All right. Thank you so very much. And to all the moderators, don't block, don't delete, don't time out. To the people who are abusing me, I like people negating me. I like them to say things which they think is right, because if they have the data, they can come up and refute us. That's why I go live. Yes, sir. Sorry, Lloyd.
All right, no worries. I just want to someone I just want to mention this briefly. Someone mentioned this. Renormalized Advait. I have at least a 3 hours discussion, set of presentations on exactly this point. Now, here's the problem with YouTube. If Adam said, Lloyd, I'd like you to do a talk on vegetables, okay, but I want you to specifically speak about cabbages, carrots, and lentils, someone in the chat is going to complain, oh my God, Lloyd hates bicycles. He didn't mention bicycles once. He hates choo-choo trains. He didn't mention steam engines once. And he didn't speak about fruit. Oh my God, he's a bigot against fruit. Okay? So we're not here to discuss Islam. I'm not here to talk about that. That's off topic. I have a limited amount of time. I had to take 500 slides and take 60. So I had to sort through 500 slides to make just a handful. Okay. So, yes, I have a detailed, lengthy discussion that I've had on this channel with Adam on exactly that topic. So, moving
And
on.
we have done that in the past, and if you want to see it, this is in the playlist with Lloyd Dijon. So the playlist name is Lloyd. So we have done
Yep.
that. And once Lloyd is finished with this presentation, I'm going to create another video, join all of these things together, and you will be amazed. So everything has to be in a sequence of events. Enjoy, listen, learn, and you will have your carrot and everything as well. Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we'll talk now back to the French Revolution. So now we're going to look at the genocide that happened in France during the French Revolution, and also the barbarity of these atheists, right? The degree of brutality that they went to, which was shocking. So the Vendée, right, is no more. So these from written records that were not that long ago. This is fairly new information. The Vendée is no more, right? They wiped out this one section which was rebelling. These were Christians that were fighting against these atheists who had started the French Revolution, right? And it died under our swords with its women and children. They slaughtered men, women, and children. They slaughtered babies. I just buried it in the swamps and the woods of Savenay. I don't have any prisoners. I exterminated the lot, right? These are the people operating under reason, right? So they said here, we're not taking prisoners, as it would be necessary to give them the bread of liberty. And pity is not revolutionary. They just killed everybody. Now, atheists love to go, hey, you know what? These Christians were violent. They just killed everybody. And atheism is going to change that. We're better. Yeah, not a lot, not a whole lot. In fact, it's about 90 times worse. So pity is not revolutionary. We're just going to have to kill everyone. So now this is a book called The French Genocide, the Vendée, by Reynaud Secher, right? And he says here, he did the same thing in Nantes and sold 12 skins in La Flèche. Now this is people skins. In these, men were merely following Saint-Just, who in a report to the Commission of Extraordinary Means dated August 14th, 1793 declared, in Moudon, they are tanning human skin. Skin coming from men has a consistency and quality superior to chamois. That
What
from
the
women
hell?
is suppler, but it has less strength. Now, people criticized the Nazis for literally taking human skin off people and making lampshades and so on. They learned that from the atheists of the French Revolution.
Wow, that's crazy. Okay.
So, in Clisson, again on April 5, 1794, soldiers of General Cruzat burned 150 women to extract fat from them. So they would put them above a fire on a grill and they would fry them so that the fat would drip out of their skin. We made holes in the ground. One of them testified to place cauldrons to catch what fell. We had put iron bars above and set the women on top, and then above them was the fire. 2 of my comrades were there with me for this affair. I sent 10 casks of their fat to Nantes. It was like embalming fluid. It was used in hospitals. This is historical records of the French Revolution, the barbarity.
Absolutely crazy to an extent that you can't even define the crazy word for that.
Once you read through this, it's horrific. You cannot believe the level of barbarity. I mean, I'm just touching on this. I'm going mildly through it, right? So atheism, of course, will end war. That's what atheists keep telling us. Atheism will bring reason. So they just have to kill everyone who disagrees first. Atheism will end war, just like jihad. We just have to kill everyone who disagrees, and then we'll have the Dar al-Salam, right? So
Yeah.
the president of the district expressed his surprise on January 25. Your soldiers, who call themselves Republicans, indulge in debauchery, dilapidation. I'm not sure what dilapidation is. It could be removal of skin, I'm not sure, and all the horrors of which even cannibals are incapable. Right? And then down dreadful roads, our soldiers cross the dread deserts of the Vendée. In other words, they've murdered everyone in that region. There's no one alive. It's a desert of people. Everywhere we go, we bring fire and death. Neither age nor sex nor anything else is respected. Yesterday, one of our detachments burned a village. A volunteer killed 3 women with his bare hands. These were Christians they were killing. It is horrible, but the safety of the Republic urgently requires that we do this, right? What a war. Every person we see, we shoot. Everywhere the earth is littered with corpses. Everywhere flames have brought devastation. And offences are not limited to pillage, wrote Lecanio. Rape and the most outrageous barbarity show up at every turn. We have seen Republican soldiers rape rebel women. These are simply Christians who wouldn't give in to the atheist government. They've raped rebel women on stones piled on the sides of the main roads and then shoot and stab them when they leave their embraces. We have seen others carrying nursing babies on the point of a bayonet or a pike that had run through mother and child in a single stroke. There's even stories, written stories, records of people throwing babies off balconies and then they catch them with the bayonets and throwing them between from bayonet to living babies, right, until they die.
Wow.
Baudisson, general manager of military supplies, right, made the following statement. The road from Vihia to Cholet was littered with corpses, some dead for 3 or 4 days, others having just died. Everywhere the fields next to the main road were covered with victims with their throats cut. Wonder where they get these ideas, like the Muslims. Wonder if they, here and there scattered houses were half burned. And General Avril rejoiced in having put down the revels of Saint Lefau to the number of 100. A number of them were roasted when all the houses in town were burned. There were poor girls, completely naked, hanging from tree branches, hands tied behind their backs, after having been raped. A girl from La Chapelle was taken by torturers who raped her and then hung her head down from an oak. Each leg was attached separately to a branch of the tree and separated from one another as far as possible. In that position, they split her body with a sword all the way to her head and cut her in two. Thank God for atheism. Good grief, it's going to change the world for the better because reason is now prevailing.
Wow.
In the castle of La Verrière, the Blues seized 2 girls and tried to take them away as prisoners. One of them clung to a crippled mother's chair. A soldier, furious and being unable to make her let go, took his sword and cut off her hand. In other cases, women were thrown out of windows onto bayonets pointed in their direction. There were many more atrocities on March 17th, which Paine called the Day of the Great Massacre. He says you can still see today a little street where the corpses were piled up and from which flowed a stream of blood as far as Le Ganot. In La Péronnière and in several other places, children in their cradles were pierced and carried, still breathing, on the points of bayonets. This was the French Revolution. This was the atheists. These are the atrocities, the kinds of atrocities that continued in Soviet Union. Atheists have killed more people in the last 100 years than have died in the last 2,000.
Oh, and with such brutality, not just skill, with the type of brutality that is, it's unbelievable. It's like even Muhammad didn't do this extremes except for a few that he tied with both of the legs with camels and tear them apart, but like mostly he just killed them. But this kind of a brutality you can't even see in Islam.
And this is from written records, right? And a surgeon named Thomas wrote, I've seen women and men burned. I've seen 150 soldiers mistreat and rape women, girls of 14 and 15, and then massacre them, and toss from bayonet to bayonet tender infants left next to their mothers, stretched out on the ground. So yeah, that's that. And now, let's see who might have written this. This is a poem called Feelings, written in 1836. Worlds I would destroy forever. So I would destroy all the worlds that I can, since I can create no world. In other words, I can't create, right? I'm not God. I can create no world. Since my call, they notice never. No one hears my words. Coursing dumb in magic whirls. So I am trying to make spells. I'm trying to do things with my words. I'm trying to cast a spell, but no one hears me. I can't create any worlds. So I am going to destroy worlds. Who could have written that? Let's see. Let's continue. Heaven I have forfeited. I know it full well. My soul, once true to God, is chosen for hell. The Pale Maiden, a ballad, 1837. Same person that wrote this. He goes on to write, there's different versions of this from the translation. There's different versions. This is one of them. I plunge without fail, my blood-black saber, my sword, into your soul. I plunge my blood-black saber into your soul. This is what God neither wants nor wists, and it leaps to the brain from hell's black mists, till your heart is bewitched, till senses reel. And then he speaks of Satan here. He chalks the signs. He beats time for me, fast and free. The Fiddler, the player, 1837. Speaking of Satan, playing the fiddle for him, and he's acting out what Satan wants him to do. So I plunge my soul, my saber, into your soul, right? Against God. Obviously, this God doesn't want this. And his spell leaps from the to the brain from hell's black mists, and he will bewitch your heart. Your senses will reel, and he works to the tune of Satan. Who do you think this can be?
Pure evil?
Let's have a look. This is Karl Marx.
No kidding. Marxism.
This is Marx. This is Karl Marx. He writes here, look now, my blood dark sword shall stab in your soul. God neither knows nor honors art. You see, God doesn't, this is art. You see, Karl Marx says, I'm doing art, and God doesn't want this. The hellish vapors rise and fill the brain till I go mad and my heart is utterly changed. See, this sword, the prince of darkness, Satan, sold it to me. You see, he exchanged his soul for this sword that he was going to use to destroy the world. For he beats the time and gives the signs. Even more boldly, I play the dance of death. Now, wasn't he an atheist? Another Satanist atheist. Isn't that odd? Someone who
MashaAllah.
sold his soul to Satan. So, yeah, Satanism, atheism, communism. Gee whiz, wonder what they have in common.
Everything?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. There's a lot more to be said about Karl Marx. I just don't have the time to go into all of this, but there is a great deal more to be said about Karl Marx. And I mean, he let two of his babies die. He didn't feed them. He let them starve to death, for instance. I mean, it's just disgusting. This man's life is filthy. So yeah. So let's have a look at Friedrich Engels and Karl Marx, right? So the scene is hell. Friedrich Engels, in his epic poem, depicts Danton, Voltaire, and Hegel welcoming Satan. So they're heroes, Voltaire and Hegel. Hegel is the guy that influenced Marx greatly with his dialectic, and Marx took these ideas and created his view of how history works and how matter and materialism works and so on. So they welcomed Satan because they saw them as Satanists. Just back from a fact-finding tour to Earth, where it had also been training freethinkers, Satan has been training atheists in their campaign to transform men into godless self-gods. Hegel is explaining what his strategy in this battle was, and Hegel, whose mouth until this moment grimness locked, suddenly rose up giant high and spoke, I consecrated all my life to science. Satanic science somehow? I preached atheism with my whole strength. Oh my. Science and atheism. Atheists always claim they're doing science. These satanic atheists who created communism, which murdered hundreds of millions, oh my golly. And I placed self-consciousness, the love of self, upon her throne, convinced I had already conquered God. That's Friedrich Engels, quoted by Georg Siegmund in God on Trial. So yeah, isn't that fascinating, the things we learn?
Wow, wow, wow. And he's preaching atheism as well. So there's a full-fledged area where Dawa Gangist you have to be and preach in full sense. That's just, that tells us everything.
Yep. And then of course this is another quote here. Let me just take this away. There. So they speak here of they have this title here. I mean, just also linked to these guys, right? The insolently threatened yet miraculously rescued Bible, or the triumph of fate to wit. So Bruno Bauer is the guy that Bruno Bauer is an atheist professor that taught Marx, and Marx considered him his inspiration, shall we say, his mentor, right? And Bruno Bauer. So listen to this title: the insolently threatened yet miraculously rescued Bible, or the triumph of faith, to wit, the terrible yet true and salutary history of the erstwhile licentiate Bruno Bauer, how the same Bruno Bauer was seduced by the devil, fallen from the true faith, and became the chief devil, and this chief devil was the mentor to Karl Marx.
Wow, perfect. Chief Devil is the if the Chief Devil is the mentor for Do I have to say anything? Sorry, guys. I'm not
Yeah,
going to say
no,
anything.
go on, go on. I mean, yeah,
Like,
go on.
the teacher is the devil.
Yeah, yeah. So, yes. Anyway, so now we're gonna take a switching tactic, and again, so Freemason Protestants in the French Revolution, right? So there were Freemasons who were Protestants in the French Revolution. When the Edict of Tolerance was decreed 1787, it came to light that there were many Protestants in the lodges of Marseille, Bordeaux, Sedan, and so on. In the lodges of Nîmes, the Protestants were in the majority.
Just,
So,
I'm
yeah,
so sorry. There's another very
sure,
important question here,
yeah.
rather a Muladul Islam. Absence of belief in God is not evil. That is called agnosticism. That is not atheism. That is exactly what we are showing. Silly. Agnosticism and atheism are two different things.
Mhm.
You just came in the middle of nowhere, rewind the YouTube video, go to the early slides, watch the first three slides so that you would know the difference between absence of having an absence in believing God versus denying God. Two different things. So I just wanted your comment to be highlighted so that you guys will know, because most of the Pakistanis and Indians have no idea what atheism is. And I'm telling you, like 99.99% atheists of Pakistan and India have no idea that uh, that among all of them, 99.99% are actually agnostic, not atheist. I've done many discussions with so-called atheists, quote unquote, so-called atheists in Pakistan, and every time after 7 to 8 minutes or 10 minutes, I realized that they are not atheists, they are agnostics. They are willing to accept God if they have enough evidences about God. That's agnosticism, not atheism. Atheists claim that no matter what evidence you will show me, I will never believe in God. That's atheism. Two entirely different things. What is happening in India and Pakistan right now is that they are changing the atheistic belief system, making them sugar coated and moving it into agnosticism, just like Islam. When the Islam is not in power, it creates a different aura, and that's what atheists are doing right now. When the right time will come and they will have the power, they will go back to their original so-called satanic church movement, just like the latest modern atheists are now doing, just like neo-atheists. You guys are listening from the middle and jumping to conclusion rather than looking at it from the start. Everything works in a flow. Go watch the starting point and then go come here. All right, we are teaching you, we are giving you data. If you have the data to prove us wrong, let us know. We'll add you in. Provide your data. All right, please continue, sir. Sorry for distraction.
Right. So this is from the French Revolution. This is from the Museum of the Protestants, right? The Protestant Museum. And it's also part of a paper called The Analysis of Freemasons in the Light of the Complete Works of Marx and Engels. People always want to know, was Marx and Engels, were they Freemasons and so on? I mean, the evidence doesn't seem to lean that way. So it says when the Edict of Tolerance was decreed, 1787, it came to light that there were many Protestants in the lodges, right? In Nîmes, the Protestants were in the majority. During the French Revolution, there were many Freemason Protestant deputies. 7 Freemason pastors out of 16 in the Constitutional Assembly. So Freemasons themselves were part and parcel of this debauchery and this violence, right? 2 Freemason pastors out of 15 pastors in the Legislative Assembly. Remember, we spoke earlier that this whole atheist nexus wasn't just about atheists; it was also about people that had a certain view on religion, right? Because they needed religion to also legitimize their actions. 7 Freemason pastors out of 29 pastors at the National Convention. They mention a few names. This guy is a Calvinist, Jean-Paul Marat. This man is critical, but this is not the time to discuss him. I discuss him at length in my other talks. and a guy called Bakunin, who was also very influential as a Soviet thinker who influenced Karl Marx and others. All right. So because
Mhm.
Karl Marx used to critique them, just something to mention. Okay, so now let's look at Freemasonry. This is from a book called Grand Orient Freemasonry Unmasked as the secret power behind communism, right? And he speaks here of the success of Faustus Socinus. We spoke of Socinianism earlier. In spreading his uncle's theories was enormous. His aim was to destroy the church, but to raise up another temple into which any enemy of orthodoxy might be freely allowed to enter. So they not only wanted to destroy the church, but create a counter structure like the church, but allowing others with doctrines that were contrary to Christianity to flourish, right? LGBT, you name it, whatever they want to put in there. So the Freemasons were part of this whole atheist movement as well. And they speak of a fundamental part of the policy of Socinus, that's the Socinians and the Unitarians we introduced in the beginning, and one in which he well instructed his disciples was to associate to Unitarianism. He therefore wished that all his adherents, yep,
Good,
because it's
good. That
Islam light. Unitarianism is Chrislam.
this is so crazy, man. This is like everything is it's like missing pieces of puzzles. Whenever I'm looking at into these Western societies, and I couldn't find the missing pieces of puzzle, and I was like, how can these liberals, and I call them librandus, and these seculars, and I call them seculars, how can they associate themselves with, Islam? And then when I listen to these things and I see this thing, and I've seen a couple of them on your channel, and I was like, you are the perfect man to come in so that we can build the puzzle as a finalized puzzle, and this makes perfect sense. Absolute perfect sense, brother. Thank you for being here.
Good to hear it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a lot to uncover and unpack. I mean, some of these topics I haven't dived into. I'm about to do a series of talks on Unitarianism, probably next month or March. I'll do Unitarianism, and I'm going to go into depth because Unitarianism is really looks to be a creation of Islam. Looks to be something that was encouraged and incubated by Muslims to be a disruptor to Christianity. So, and this is a template that goes back to the 6th and 7th century. So, but that's a different story. Okay, so he wished that all his adherents should, whether Lutheran or Calvinist, treat one another as brothers, and hence his disciples have been called United Brethren, the Polish brothers, or the Moravian brothers, or Brother Masons, and finally just Freemasons. Okay, that's a bunch of weird heresies there, and connected to Freemasonry. Let's have a look. They speak here of the original. Now, they speak here of the Freemasons and the Temple of Solomon and so on. The original state of man is supposed to be a commonwealth of equality. Now, this is some of the views of the Freemasons, a commonwealth of equality. We know it as communism, with a vague deism as its religion. Now, deism is where God has kind of made the world and he buggered off and he disappeared and no one's seen him since. So, yeah, there was a God, but yeah, he's not here, he's not around, and we just got to sort ourselves out. So we may as well act as if there is no God, okay? He made the world and he buggered off. So, yeah, let's just do our own thing. That's deism. It's kind of like people want a religion, so here's a fake religion. Let's move on. Okay, and then this temple.
I just love this. Oh yeah, let's just move on. Okay, perfect. You just made a very solid point, and then okay, yeah, let's just move on. Makes sense. Perfect.
Yeah, no, but that was Voltaire's position as well. He claimed to be a deist. Well, he says people want religion. I mean, they would say you'll see it in my other atheist talks. Like atheists will say, well, people kind of want religious structure, so let's give them a fake religion to keep them happy, and we'll move on.
Yeah, and fake religion, whatever, and satanic religion, just give them something because they want something. Let's take their
exactly.
candy and give them another candy, even though that candy
give them
is sour.
services.
Okay.
We're
service.
atheists, but we need services. Like, sure.
Yes.
So
service.
this temple destroyed by Christ was to be restored by Freemasonry after Christ, and the Christian order must be obliterated by conspiracy and revolution. And the state of nature was Hiram, whose murder Masonry was to avenge. Now this is I mean, that's the longest story with Hiram Bingham, and the murder of Hiram Bingham, and he was blah blah blah, Freemasonry and so on. but they're going to rebuild the temple. So there's a whole religious symbolism, some weird ass religious symbolism going on. Hiram Abiff, or the widow's son, is the central character of an allegory presented to all candidates during the third degree in Freemasonry. He is the chief architect of King Solomon's temple. He's murdered inside this temple by 3 ruffians after they failed to obtain the master mason's secrets. And blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so there's a whole bunch of weirdness that's all connected. As I said, I've got 60 slides out of like 500. Okay, let's talk about Gramsci or Gramsci.
Okay, we are
right?
almost reaching a 2-hour mark, so
Cool.
you gotta
Yeah.
figure out a way when to stop it. Okay.
Yeah, so I've got 60 slides total. So or 59, 58 slides. So we can do like another 3 or 4 slides. Then we're
Wherever
roughly halfway.
yeah, wherever you think is reasonable.
Yep. So this is Gramsci. He's very important. Okay. Now, obviously, they hate the Catholic Church. He viewed the Vatican and Jesuits as enemies. He was Italian, right? So now this is just one of many quotes, and of course, there are many like him. So he's a culturist. He's the cultural architect of Marxism, right? Cultural Marxism is Marxism with a new designed, as opposed to just this conflict between the rich and the poor. It's about the haves and the have-nots, LGBT versus the straight. He created cultural Marxism as we know it today. And he says socialism, which is, atheist, is precisely the religion that must overwhelm Christianity. He's an atheist, don't forget. In the new order, socialism will triumph by first capturing the culture via infiltration of schools, then universities and churches and the media, by transforming the consciousness of society.
Wow, wow. When did he said that? Like which year? Give me an
Humanist,
approximate.
Marxist, socialist. And he's foundational to intersectionality and cultural Marxism. So it dismantles existing culture by ideological, which is satanic, the opposer, right? Challenging the legitimacy of existing institutions like family, religion, political power. If you read the 10 commandments of communism that Marx and Engels write in their book Das Kapital, one of the things that they say they must destroy is the family, right? All existing institutions. So socialist Paul Alinsky describes the modus operandi in his Rules for Radicals. Now, Alinsky personally acknowledges Lucifer as the very first radical. This man was, don't forget that, who's the wife of, oh, good grief.
Who's the wife of who?
Former president, the guy that with the cigar, what's his name? Clinton. Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton acknowledged Saul Alinsky in her thesis at university. She dedicated her thesis to him. And Saul Alinsky dedicated his book to Satan.
Oh, that's why. That's exactly why they are doing this. Perfect. Makes sense. All right. But like, I need to go back, and I think there was an internet distortion on your side, on my side. I was getting some kind of a distortion from you. Maybe it's me who can see you distorted. But the first point, when is this Antonio Gramsci is saying this?
20s, 30s, 1920s,
1920s? Man,
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense.
You can find loads of quotes like this by different guys. I'm just using one here.
That is perfect sense. That's exactly what they are doing after 100 years of his quotation. Now in this world, at this moment, when they are teaching this in the schools, in universities, and in churches, where now you have they created pastors or priests who support LGBTQ plus XYZ, and schools are being taught these things, and there are a lot of fights that the parents are doing, that why are you teaching these kind of BS to our kids and all, and it's all over the media. So after 100 years they are doing this because they know that without this it cannot happen. So they are just doing all of this now in this part of the world at this moment, which they were not able to do for the last 100 years. It's
They've been trying
crazy.
For 100 years. Yeah, they're getting it right now. And he writes, what follows is for those who want to change the world from what it is to what they believe it should be. And he refers here to Machiavelli as The Prince. Was written by Machiavelli for the haves on how to hold power. Rules for Radicals is written for the have-nots on how to take it away. You see, to be unburdened by what has been.
Oh my.
And he was a humanist. You see, so this is from The Prison Notebooks, A Humanist Reconstruction of Marxism. Humanism, Marxism, atheism, socialism. Work it out. Satanism. See, it all links. It's all connected. So I'll do one or two slides and we call it a day. So 1 or 2 slides now. So let's look at the Communist Confession of Faith. So we have confessions of faith in the church, right? So this is from the Communist Manifesto. It was originally titled the Communist Confession of Faith. So when you join a church, or when you become of age, you do a confession of faith and you get confirmed, right? So Engels writes to Marx in 1847, give a little thought to the Communist Confession of Faith. This is a religious statement. These atheists, sorry?
They started as a faith to begin
Faith.
with.
Yes, a religion, a replacement religion. He says, I think we would do best to abandon the catechetical form. That's catechism. That's Catholic, right? This is a copy. They've taken the idea of how the Catholic Church functions, and they said, hey, we're going to structure our communist religion on that, right? And we will call the thing the Communist Manifesto. So just before publishing it, a week or so before publishing the thing, they said, let's change the name. Instead of calling it the Communist Confession of Faith, because it looks too religious, we need to change the name to something that doesn't sound religious. It's a religion. So catechetical means religious instruction in preparation for baptism or confirmation, a religious teaching. So Marx, now this is from James Lindsay. Marxist communism is not an extension or logical conclusion of liberalism. It's a Gnostic mystery religion made of an inversion of Christianity, retooled into a form of magical alchemy, Gnosticism again, passing itself off as a science.
Nice. Perfect.
Yeah. So I'll do a couple. These are short slides now. So Lenin, let's look. Lenin comes before Stalin, comes after Marx, and so on. Lenin, Religion. His book Religion in 1905. He says atheism is a natural and inseparable part of Marxism, of the theory and practice of scientific socialism, because atheists constantly claim that they are scientific thinkers. They're scientific, and well, now we have scientific socialism, which is atheist. You see, scientific socialism. Atheism is an integral part of Marxism. Consequently, a class-conscious Marxist must carry on propaganda in favor of atheism. And they developed propaganda to promote atheism, which atheists use exactly the same arguments today.
Wow. So they work on propaganda.
Yes.
Perfecto.
So religion is opium for the people. Religion is a sort of spiritual booze, a drink, right, in which the slaves of capital drown their human image. Our program necessarily includes the propaganda of atheism. Socialist, Marxist, Leninist, atheist propaganda. Right. The philosophical basis for Marxism is absolutely atheistic and positively hostile to all religion. That's on page 11. You can download his book and read it. When atheists repeat Marxist propaganda, then those atheists are Marxists, whether they know it or not, because they are repeating Marxist propaganda. He writes here, let us recall him that his essay on Ludwig Feuerbach, and Feuerbach is crazy. Feuerbach calls atheism a religion, period. Engels reproaches Feuerbach for combating religion, not in order to destroy it, but in order to renovate it, to invent a new, exalted atheist religion.
Wow. Again. Please read the line again. I just wowed. And
so Engels argues with a guy called Feuerbach. Feuerbach inspired Marx and Engels, right? He said atheism will be the new religion. Atheism will become the religion we all follow. It is the greatest religion. It will replace Christianity. Atheism is the religion of the future, the scientific religion of the future, right? And he says, no, we don't want to overhaul Christianity. We want to destroy it completely, right? But then, of course, Marx and Engels actually create a new religion themselves, you see? And so does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. It actually makes perfect sense now. This is beautiful.
So then he says here, religion is the opium of the people. Now, this dictum by Marx is the cornerstone of the whole Marxist outlook on religion. Religion drugs people. It takes them away from truth, right? So we need to give them atheism so they see the truth, right? Marxism has always regarded all modern religions and churches and all religious organizations as instruments of the bourgeois reaction that befuddles the working class. Except that quote of his is much bigger. So now let's do a final slide. My last slide. This is from a book called Beyond Freedom and Dignity by this psychologist, B.F. Skinner. And he says, we can no longer afford freedom. You can't be free. That's bad.
What?
Yeah. If we cannot afford freedom because you guys are destroying the world with your freedoms, you need to live according to the rules that we tell you. And he says we must design our culture to shape the behavior needed for survival. You see, we need to tell you what to do. We need to shape the culture so that you do what the hell we tell you. This was a bestseller. This was an atheist. So I'll finish this page and we're done for the day, and then you can give your comments and we'll call it a night. We can no longer afford freedom. And what he did was he recommended the destruction and the abolition of the family unit. No more families. Children belong to the state. That's Marxist. It's exactly what Marx called for. It's communist. And he's an atheist, but he's not a Marxist. No. Science has enabled current moral and social degeneracy, which is scientific atheism and humanism at work. All of this moral degeneracy, LGBTQ, we don't even know what a woman is. That came from science, right? This is scientific atheism and this is humanism at work. Those are my comments here, right? So Beyond Freedom and Dignity is a 1971 book, and he argues that free will and the moral autonomy of the individual, right, hinders the prospect of using scientific methods to modify behavior for the purpose of building a happier and better organized utopia. You see, free will and moral autonomy, Christianity, gets in the way of us making the perfect society. So we need to take away your free will and your moral autonomy, and then we can make a perfect society. Because, see, free will is a miraculous event, you see, and science is opposed to any kind of miracles, because according to atheists, you have no free will. It's all mechanical determinism. So how can you have free will if there's no God? So we must take away free will, because we can't have any of that religion nonsense going around. And you want to destroy humanity's free will. Your thoughts?
I'll give it in the end.
So I'll finish here. I'm done here. So we'll call it tonight on that. Your thoughts on that?
Okay. Give me a second. They Prami in the live chat, bring up the evidence of your claim that Adam and Eve is present in Sanskrit text before Torah. Please bring a carbon dated copy in any museum that you can show me, and you have your statement correct, and I have my statement, which I didn't even give, wrong. So just give me one carbon dated copy which shows what you are saying before the Torah writing. All right. So with that being said, let me go to our current discussion. So brother, very great insight on atheism, quite frankly, to begin with. A lot of the questions that I had are answered today, and I know that you have 30 more slides to go. So a lot will be answered in the next Sunday live stream, right? We're going to do the part 2 in the next Sunday, correct, Lloyd?
I should be able to, yeah. If the move goes well, everything is good, then yeah, should be able
Yes.
to.
So we'll do it next Sunday. So I'll gonna reconnect all of this that we just read: Marxism, the socialism, and can you bring up the last slide where the guy said there is no freedom, we cannot give them any freedom? Can you please bring up that, because this is the basics of atheism. I have said that many times in the past, but this is my statement versus what you are showing is actually the statements of the biggest atheist of the world. So can you please bring that up, because this is very important right
Yeah.
now. So here are the things, guys. Listen to me very carefully. And if there is anybody in this entire world who can refute me, go 3 4 step slides back, where you have shown the book of the guy who says yes, that one, oh, no, that one, no freedom, yes, beyond the freedom. So we cannot afford any freedom. We cannot give any freedom. We cannot afford any freedom. So very important. So realize this. What happened in Britain? I'm going to say it out loud, and I challenge each and every single person who has 2 cents of a brain to come up and tell me if I'm saying anything wrong. What happened in Britain? Britain, which was once called the Great Britain, They took the freedom away from the people first. They took they took it away. Right now, if you say something in TikTok, you can be put to jail, and they have done that. It's history. I'm not saying anything from my own self. Go search on the Google. If you say something on Facebook, you will be put in jail. That's happening in UK, Britain. You say something on YouTube, you can be put in jail.
Even the
Freedom of
WEF,
speech.
even WEF and the chairman of BlackRock, they've said we need to influence people's behaviors. We need to change behaviors. We need to use social media and punishment to force behaviors. They've said this publicly, and this comes from this psychology.
Exactly, exactly. So what is happening in the Great Britain right now, which is not great anymore at all, you cannot even express what you are thinking, what is happening with you. Last time a person who was trying to save his daughter was put in jail because of these um, gangs who came in there, and he was put in jail because he did a forceful entry in somebody's house to save his 19 years old daughter. That's the reality of the Britain of UK right now. 3 months ago, a woman standing on a sidewalk or footpath was caught by police because she was silently praying. She was silently praying. So in UK, you cannot stand on a footpath or sidewalk, depending on which part of the world that you belong to. You cannot stand on a footpath or a sidewalk and pray. This woman was captured, put in jail, and then she fought the case. And you know how she won the case? She actually won the case. And the police had to pay 8,000 British pound to that woman. You know how she won? She won the case because police was not able to provide evidence that when she was silent, she was praying. It's not that you can pray on the sidewalk. It's not that you can stand and pray on a footpath, because when you're praying, you're not harming anybody. You are just praying. No, 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 no. Police was not able to prove with evidence that she was silently actually praying. When she was silent, she was actually praying. Police was not able to prove that, hence police had to pay 8,000 pounds to that lady. Assume and imagine if she was praying with some voice, that some police officer's mic would have captured that. This is what I call we can no longer afford freedom. Now, this is Britain. Come to US. Do you know that the yellow guy with yellow hairs, what's his name? Who's the new president of the US now? Uh, what's his name? Trump. Trump was attacked 3 times. You probably know of one, and maybe some of you would know of two. He was attacked 3 times, and all of those news were suppressed. And Mark Zuckerberg actually stated that in one of the hearing that I was asked to suppress this news. Do you know that our channels, my channel, Lloyd channels, and a lot of ex-Muslims channels are shadow banned in so many parts of the world, and you can't even get the notifications. This is called we can no longer afford freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression. You know this last lady who ran for the president in the United States, what's the name of that lady who lost against Trump? Whatever the name of that lady was. Kamala Harris. Yeah, Kamala Harris. So Kamala Harris, she said, no, we have to do what do you call it?
Censorship of social media.
Censorship of social media. Yeah, we have to do censorship of social media. What do you mean by censorship of social media? So there is supposed to be no freedom of your speech. You cannot have freedom of speech. So imagine if Elon Musk would not have bought Twitter, you would definitely would not know anything whatsoever, because Twitter is the only place right now where you can freely say whatever you want to say. And what is happening in UK is now on Twitter, not on news channels, not on Facebook, not on YouTube, because all three of these platforms does not allow you to put these kind of things there. They will delete your channel, they will destroy your channel, and the only place that you can see about these things are in Twitter, which is now X, thanks to Musk. He is giving us the freedom of speech and freedom of expression, where we can see what is happening in the world, because the rest of the world is trying to stop you from freedom. That is our right.
Yeah. He says they want to shape your personality the way they want it. They want to shape your personality.
The way they want it, they want to shape the personality the way they want it. This is the
Yeah.
reality of it, my friends. This is the reality of it. This is atheism. This is pure atheism. This is pure Marxism. This is pure whatever. Like, there's so many names that this thing has right now. They hide under different names. They're hiding themselves under so many different names. Please understand that this is a bigger cult than Islam itself. Islam is a baby in the hands of atheism and communism. It is coming to the West, and it is coming real fast.
You know, there's so many things we'll cover. We'll do some statistics in the future, near future as well. But do you know that all of the countries that were founded on Christianity, all of them were high functioning democracies, developed countries, all of them. If you look at the Islamic countries, only 6% of them are democracies. A very tiny percentage are what we would consider to be democratic. I mean, and even in that case, there's a limit to that. So they all, in fact, tend to be failed states, or they tend to be totalitarian dictatorships. There's a very big difference with what Christianity brings. And all of these atheist governments have, of course, been at some point corrupt and eventually descended into genocide.
I fully agree with you, my friend, and this is the reality of it, and that's the end of today's part of the story, guys. Learn, understand, and realize what the truth is. And if anybody wants to have a discussion with us, let us know next Sunday, because
Yeah,
next Sunday we're going to end it. And once we end it
yeah.
and you have the data to prove us wrong, let us know. We'll create a special stream for you to join in so that you
You
could
know,
prove us wrong. Yes, sir.
there's agnostics in the chat, but agnostics are just atheists who don't want to admit it.
Most of them, but not all of them. I'll say that. It's the same thing. It's a mixture of a lot of things. So with that being said, uh, Romans 16:20 gave us a super sticker, and I was not able to read it at that particular time, so I'm going to read it now. Great info. No, so Satan equal to one who opposes, like atheists. Muhammad also opposed divinity of
Yeah.
prophecies, revelations, previous teachings of love, and etc. 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 You are so right,
Well, think
Roman
they who do
16:20.
not believe that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh are Satanists, right? They are the Antichrist. By that
Absolutely.
definition, atheism meets that criteria.
Alhamdulillah. So with that being said, there was a Kumar guy who I said, give me one single carbon dated evidence of your claim, and he did not. And Kumar, when you will have the evidence, come give it to me. Show me one single carbon dated evidence of what you claimed before the writing of Torah. Let's see if you have any, because this is a challenge that will stand with you forever and ever. You will never be able to show me any. That's the reality of it. So don't come in and state things without knowledge. I know that you have been deceived by some of your friends, and that's perfectly fine if you are in deception, but search on it. Google
Mm.
and see what is the earliest carbon dated evidence that you have. You will not find it any before the Torah. So with that being said, thank you so very much. Brother Lloyd, do you have any last comments? Because I already said a lot. So your last
No, you
comments
did.
before
No,
we
no.
close.
Thanks for having me on. I hope this was helpful to. I mean, you said it was helpful to you, so I'm glad to hear that. I hope the audience saw a different side of atheism. They understand atheism as a cult, as a religion, as a political movement that wants to impose a very specific set of rules on the world, and these are not good rules. And it's alliance with Satanism, it's alignment. You need to be aware of what we're dealing with.
Thank you. Take care. And we'll see you with part 2 next Sunday. Have a
Good night.
blessed day, evening, or night, wherever you are. Yeshua Akbarul
Akbar al-Azim.
Azim. God bless you all.
God bless